Hello everyone and Happy New Year! But occasion for this video is going to be from 2024, which is Rapid and Blitz World Chess Championship that finished a couple days ago, and there's going to be a full recap of all the action, all intrigues, dramas. I will try to present you in this video, and although many of you knew what was going on here and there, this is going to be like full video devoted to this tournament. Rapid and Blitz usually an annual event that kind of happens in the end of the year between like 26th of December until 31st, and this year wasn't an exception. There are like 3 days of Rapid, 2 days of Blitz, and yeah, let's begin. Before the tournament, actually, there were some rumors that Magnus, Carlsen and Nakamura potentially would not play, and as it turned out later on, the reason behind it was that there is a freestyle chess events which are kind of popular about like Fischer chess, and FIDE was kind of against these tournaments to be world championship in Fischer chess, and they kind of threatened the players who participated in it, according to Magnus Carlsen words, so that they couldn't participate in FIDE events, and there was some like real beef between top players like Magnus Carlsen, Nakamura, who actually recorded the video before the World Chess Champion event. But everything started calmly, finally. Both of the, great Rapid and Blitz players were in. But for the Magnus, this tournament hasn't started really well, because in the first round he played against Avonder Liang, a pretty strong young GM, who decided to dry out Magnus in the first round, like brutally, very impotent, but it is what it is. How is that possible? Because it's very difficult to win with black if white really trying to make a draw, especially when it's a very strong GM. And right here, white used the most like effective weapon for this purpose, which is Scotch or for knights Scotch, whatever you like it. Because Magnus tried his best. Probably it's not the most fighting variation from Magnus, because there are options that are more competing and challenging, although they take more risk. And what happened in this game, white tried to trade off a lot of stuff, the position simplified, and the game went on and went on, but Magnus couldn't find a lot of chances, the position was too dry, and that's how Magnus lost his first points. Going a little bit ahead, this wasn't the greatest tournament of Magnus, and probably this is also the reason that right here he couldn't win. And yeah, in the first round, no sensation. In the second round, actually, there was a sensation where Murzin, who surprisingly for everybody, it was a real sensation, won the Rapid event, not without luck, but this game against Fabiano Caruana was amazing, a really perfect game, pretty interesting. And it was round 2 when he really claimed that he's here not joking, he's gonna fight, he's gonna try to go for the first place. Fabiano plays his standard Sveshnikov that he plays very often. There were many games in Candidates tournament and other tournament. This is like one of the main weapons of Fabiano. I don't like Sveshnikov because like who likes creating so many holes, and like yeah, there is a dynamics, but still pretty suffering opening. And actually right here not so much to show. Volodar chose the option when he has a very cool knight on d5. Black has bishop pair, but this bishop is not really working, but there are huge issues with the dark squares, which Caruana was supposed to use. And right here, a little spoiler, Caruana didn't. Plan of Murzin was extremely simple. He wanted to back up with the bishop and start attacking with pawns. Caruana needed somehow to bring the knight to d4 somewhere in the right moment, but because he didn't take this knight first before, he didn't plan this knight right on time, Volodar supported one knight with another knight, and right now, yeah, attack just flows, it's very difficult to play. And although engine shows some chances for black and Caruana really nice creating dynamics, this was probably the best game of Murzin in this tournament. This is why he became a Rapid champion, because right here, doesn't matter how much Caruana tried, it didn't work out. And even though the position became a bit spicy, but I mean, it wasn't enough. And in the time trouble, White didn't make any mistakes, and this is theoretically winning endgame. Okay, next game number 3. For Magnus also didn't go very tough, and of course you can complain that I'm showing you Magnus a lot, but there will be a lot of talk about Magnus in this video, because he was the star of this event and all the main action was happening around him. So, round number 3, Everything started with some like normal opening. He played Queen's Gambit, declined, everything transposed to the endgame, where White created a huge problem on e3, which is a backward pawn, also square in front of this pawn on e4 is also pretty weak, and right here Magnus, instead of trying to somehow use it, probably he would easily win this game if he was in his good shape, because I mean, clear weaknesses, clear weak square, many ways to put pressure, maybe transfer the knight to g6, maybe something else, a lot of ways to continue, but Magnus decided to distract, and he went to the queen side, open up the position, which led to some trouble. Because right here White apparently found some activity, and the knight on e5 wasn't problematic anymore, he was a pretty serious weapon, and after some trade-off Magnus ended up in the time trouble, not really time trouble, he had a little bit more time than his opponent, but he was down a pawn in the endgame where it's very challenging to play. And right here, if White had more time, or if it was a classical game, Magnus would be doomed to lose, because right here the best idea was to play e4, trying to centralize the king after, and this is a GG because we have 2 pawns on c, f file, the pawn on c4 is extremely weak, and this is gonna be a game over. And somehow, mysteriously, Magnus managed to create a lot of pressure, and right here there was a critical moment where White could have found knight d4, which is not easy to do when you have 20 seconds on the clock, and White made a little inaccuracy, and the game ended in a draw. Not really what you expect when you play against 24-36 GM. It's his rapid rating. In Classic he has 25 plus. So yeah, that's another not the best game of Magnus, and kinda these problems chased him in next round. And in the next round against Alexander Shimanov, Magnus also got some problems. He got pretty cool position because lots of holes in the position of Black. Black decided to play c5, complicating the game. Magnus said challenge accepted, and he managed to get amazing position because our pieces are way more active. The knight is on e5, the bishop really sucks on e8. And right here Black continued messing up the position, and this is all headed to position like this when White has knight and bishop for rook and the pawn, and right here we have a nice blockade in the center, which should be sufficient to win for any like grandmaster right here. Of course Black has some practical chances, but because there is no passed pawn, chances of Black for surviving are not huge. And if it was, I mean, good Magnus, good old Magnus who was in a good shape, he would easily win it. And right here everything was pretty fine, but then both of the players ended up in the time trouble when every tempo matters, position getting too messy, Black continue creating different tiny threats, the king is a little bit in danger, there are different pins like the one on the c file, and right here Black found perfect counterplay that granted them 2 connected passed pawns when Magnus has 2 splitted passed pawns, and this was another game where Magnus was one like step away from really losing the game. And right here in this rough time trouble, Alexander needed to make the right decision. He had 1 minute 27 seconds. It looks like a complete draw because queen versus queen, what can happen? End of the game he played queen g1 after some thinking, and Magnus managed to run away. Instead, if he just played, let's say, queen g4, king goes here, queen f5, there is no way to survive for Magnus, because if king goes to, okay, not to e8 obviously, because queen c8 check, if he goes to e7, there is a queen e5 check, trading the queen, and our pawn will promote way faster. If let's say king g8, we have another check, and that's kinda a big problem right here. But instead Queen G1 happened, and Magnus managed to stay alive. It's like 2.5 out of 4, definitely not the best tournament, but kinda last nail in the coffin was the game between him and Denis Lazovic, who he played recently in some speed chess event. That was like pretty fun. Players played in earphones, could listen to music, which Magnus really crushed pretty easily, outplaying everybody on his way. But right here, it was a Slav. White goes for exchange Slav, which is quite drawish. Right here, the main line is bishop f5, when chances of winning for white are not that huge, as well as for black, especially if white wants to make a draw. There are some ways to pressure, like queen b3, but yeah, I guess Magnus knows everything, but he choosing a6 line, which is more competing, which leads to more complex positions, and here Magnus decided to all or nothing, press for a win. He played g5, attacking the bishop, which is pretty, I mean, common idea in Slav sometimes, at least I saw it in several lines for black, with an idea to create a storm. Center kinda closed, so we cannot be punished, but Magnus kinda, I mean, got too much attracted to this idea, went all in instead of preparing an attack, and right now it turns out that there are not enough resources, and all what he did kind of plays against him, because after queen d1, the pawn on g4 doesn't have any guards. Magnus continues messing up the position because that's the only thing he can do, because otherwise he will lose immediately. But Denis easily managed to stay alive. Can say that it was pretty hard, but this was a tough hit to Magnus, because right now 2.5 out of 5, it's clear that he definitely ruined his rapid part. There is no chance of surviving that. But actually, interesting day happened in the day number 2. In the first day there were 5 rounds, in second day 4, and the third one 4. After 3 rounds, which Magnus played more or less successfully, he made 1 draw and got 2 wins finally. In the round before the round number 9, Arbiter came to him, which you probably all heard about the story, but I'll still try to short tell you about it. So Arbiter came to him. He pointed out that Magnus playing in the jeans, and it's kind of against FIDE dress code. Therefore, he will be fined for $200, and he needs to change his clothes before round number 9 immediately. And yeah, or he will not be paid. Magnus said, "Would you mind if I, let's say, I mean, it's the last round, I can change it tomorrow, would you mind it?" And Arbiter says, "Yeah, I'm against it. Like, go and change, get out, like, or you will not be paired in the round number 9. No flexibility, no compromise." Although Max played not his best tournament, everything going not so well. Plus, I mean, who cares for this 1 round in jeans? And Magnus decided to be pretty principled about it. He just left the tournament, and this was a pretty interesting thing. And yeah, it's like, what's the reason? What's the beef about jeans? There are a lot of memes, jokes about it, but kinda, it's recommended to play in the, like, different costumes with, like, normal pants, not with jeans. But later, it was like, I mean, pretty interesting twist at the end. So Magnus decided to, he recorded some video, he was, like, interviewed on his app, Take, and he said that he's tired with the FIDE, it's like not appropriate, I'm against it. He said, "Fuck you," and decided not to play Rapid and Blitz anymore. And it was a very bold decision, because, yeah, dress code sometimes is pretty cringe, because, I mean, normally it is made so that nobody, like, play the tournaments in some shorts or in some flip-flops and stuff like that. But jeans is a totally casual style, so I don't know what's the problem. And there was some, like, euphoria. Some people was supporting Magnus, some people were against it. I personally clearly supported it, because FIDE, I mean, a bit weird organization, and it was kind of wind of change, because Magnus could try to do something new. He could try to compete with FIDE, he could try to succeed in what Kasparov couldn't 30 years ago. He could really try to renovate chess, like, give it a huge boost. But then, by the way, Like, let's take a little break. Rapid day number 3 was without Magnus, and who won? Vladimir Murzin, as I said before. So let's take a short break, just not to break sequence. In the round number 9, he played against Hikaru Nakamura with black pieces, so everybody would say that Hikaru easily won. And Hikaru was leading actually. He had pretty nice position. Yeah, he has some weakness on d3, but white has more space. The pawn on c5 is also not very nice, not a candy, very easy to attack it. But what happened is that after queen b5, Nakamura noticed that this knight is hanging, so he needs to protect it with the queen, and he missed knight e4 shot. Maybe he saw it, but I have a feeling that he missed it, because it's a pretty powerful hit. After d queen c4, white is just down a pawn. Hikaru found a way to, survive. Position slightly worse, but Hikaru, like as usual, can hold such positions all day, and he actually even created some pressure. So it was not an easy time for Volodar, because Hikaru going back and forth, creating pressure. Hikaru has some time lead, 2 minutes ahead. And right here position was fine, but because black had very active rook, it was very hard for white to do something. And let's say right now it looks like we can win right here, but we always need to calculate different a3 moves, which can be pretty annoying. Although right here I assume there might be knight d5 move, but yeah, let's say such moves always can be irritating. Don't know, by the way, why Hikaru didn't go for it. Practically speaking, it's a pretty interesting decision. But the game went on and went on. No risk for Hikaru yet, but then Vladar decided to give up a pawn. Hikaru got outside passed pawn, which normally benefits you in the endgame, because you can distract your opponent and then eat all his pawns on the other side. But apparently black just blocks it, and position still pretty much alright. Nakamura improves his rook, he threatens all the pawns on the 6th rank, but out of nowhere pieces of Murzin become super active. And right now, let's say somewhere c3 was the threat, followed by c2. Right now it doesn't work because there is knight e4 check. And after king c6, under time pressure, Hikaru was like, he had 33 seconds, he played rook b8 quickly, and after king c7 he just resigned. Why did he do it? Because after, let's say, rook b6, for example, there is c3, c2, and like, yeah, also the problem is that somewhere there can be rook a1 check, and the king has nowhere to go. So pretty impressive win, although Hikaru was pushing the whole game, but he kind of overpushed. Vladar managed to find initiative, find counterplay, and won this game. And actually, the final game that kind of made him champion, because after it there were like no questions. It was a game against Pragg in the round number 12. Pretty interesting game. It was Italian with like c3 d4. Right here Vladar plays bishop f5. Better move is bishop g4 normally, but probably he had some prep. Although I don't know, against Pragg I wouldn't risk going away from the main line, which for sure equalizes. And the game got a little bit messy, because right here some tactical clash, and white ended up having kinda extra pawn. But what's more important, bishop of black out of the game. You can say, look at the white's bishop, what the hell is he doing? Because he's just, only rook on c1 will make the situation even worse for him. But at least he has some chances of being improved, like, I don't know, rotating him to f2 or giving up this pawn going to e5. When this bishop is really locked, he cannot jump across pawns. Chess hasn't evolved that much yet. Queen f5 was played, and Pragg played perfect game. He traded, he played c4, c5, making the situation for bishop even more spicy, but Murzin decided to find some counterplay. Rook on g2 looks amazing. King comes to f3, which is unbelievable, with an idea that if bishop d2, king f2, and bishop a5 winning the bishop, there is apparently a mate, which is pretty cool. f5 was played, f6, and right here, this was a critical moment. Pragg repeated moves, and right here, he played rook b2 check, and Murzin continued king f1, and this position is already losing. Like, snap of fingers, one thing, and already black is winning because there is a mating idea which white cannot cover because f4 doesn't work. But if Pragg right here noticed with 24 seconds on the clock that he has f7 intermediate move, and after rook f8 he can do the same, he would definitely win it because king cannot go to f3 because there is bishop h6 check, and after this move there is a move of 4, for example, trying to have rook f2 idea. Otherwise we have maneuvers like this also mating, and Pragg would stop Murzin, who would definitely not become a champion unless some magic would happen. But as it's been said, the winner's always lucky, so sometimes with all even things, yeah, you can get lucky because you are stronger. And after g2 he managed to win. In the last round he made a draw and became a champion. So yeah, pretty nice result, unexpected, enough of luck, let's put it this way, because let's say against Nakamura got a little bit lucky here and there, he was like one step away, but yeah, pretty impressive result. And going back to Magnus, that was a free day, and in this free day I'm like scrolling my YouTube recommendations and I see the video on Take. I mean, I didn't see any news about it yet, it was like 15 minutes ago, where Magnus says like, okay guys, I'm back, I'm playing the Blitz tournament, which was a pretty shock because, like, I don't know, many people support him, some people may be against him. I mean, later there will be more controversy in the final episode of this drama, and especially final with Nepomniachtchi. But what's the point? What Magnus said, that he talked with Dvorkovich, he said that arbiter wasn't really flexible enough, he rushed, he backed, okay, not backed him, but he really asked Magnus, and Magnus talked to sponsors who really persuaded him to go back. Then Magnus changed his, I don't know, speak about fuck you to, I mean, I didn't refer it to all the members of FIDE, and Arkady Dvorkovich is a great guy according to the Magnus words, and at least one day Magnus will play there, which was totally shocking because I don't like such attitude, because when you like get out, close the door, because it looks like Magnus like a small child who, like, I don't know, wanted some toy car, for example, or some robot, and he starts screaming, I want a robot, parents say no, you're not allowed, and then he started like screaming, whining, crying, demanding everything, and FIDE, like this generous parents, say, okay, now you can get it, like, and robot and car and whatever you want. And this is like really childish behavior. You just expect world champion. Okay, right now he's not really a world champion, maybe in Blitz only, but yeah, that he will firmly stand by his words when he says that I'm like leaving, I'm fed up with everything, because he also said that there was a pressure on chess players by FIDE on the Freestyle Chess event and situation around it, that players could be fined, they will not be able to play FIDE events if they participate, and the Freestyle will have again the name of World Championship. And yeah, Magnus totally like changed his shoes, said that like, okay, I'm playing. Many people excited. I mean, for me, Magnus really not that high anymore. He could really become like new Fischer, new Kasparov, who really like stand for rights chess players, improved something in chess, like Fischer with prize funds. Kasparov tried to also raise some money with his Intel collaboration and Professional Chess Association, but it didn't work out in the end. And Magnus, yeah, backing up, saying, okay, I'm back. And in Blitz, by the way, sorry, I forgot, my bad. The most interesting intrigue, if you didn't know, was that every year, okay, like not actually every year, you can qualify for the candidates through the FIDE circuit. It means that you need to play some top level tournaments, and if you play well, you will score some points. I don't know how the system works, honestly speaking, but there was a like serious battle between Fabiano Caruana, who managed to play a few successful tournaments in the fall of November, beginning of December in US, and Arjun Erigaisi, who's showing incredible performance, really like, I'm looking at his chess, I sometimes do not understand like a lot of stuff because there is a total chaos on the board and he somehow like some magician navigated. And yeah, between Erigaisi and Caruana. Erigaisi needed to show amazing result during the rapid to have some chances to catch up with Caruana, and he was doing great until the round number 9 or 10 probably against Grishuk. Yeah, it's number 10. He had 7 out of 9 really good chances, but in the game against Alexander Grishuk, experienced chess player who actually scored second place if I remember it correctly, Arjun unfortunately lost his chances to get to top 3. He still finished the tournament pretty like high in top 10 for sure, maybe top 5, but I don't recall it correctly. But right here in the game with Alexander Grishuk, he didn't get the play he probably counted on, because Grishuk got a perfect d5 square, and although Erigaisi also had d4 square, after taking this knight there will be protected passed pawn. White has a control over open file, and Grishuk just crushed Arjun. He was looking for some chances, but it didn't work out, so unfortunately Arjun didn't get his spot in the candidates. It's Caruana, who already is in the candidates tournament, was like 2026 probably. But still, I truly believe that Arjun will get his spot. It can be Grand Prix or World Cup. Looking at the chess he's showing right now, it's not going to be a problem. And finally, we go into the Blitz and slowly approaching another drama. Okay, not this drama, but yeah, like, doesn't matter. Let's open this game. So, the tournament, what's the format of the Blitz tournament? Before, as I remember, it was 21 rounds, Swiss system, maybe not 21, I don't remember exactly, because there were a few changes, but in my memory, for some reason, it's printed like it was 21 round. This year, FIDE decided to change the system. They determined that there will be only 13 rounds, like in Rapid, but with a little twist. After 13 Blitz rounds, there will be playoff. Top 8 will go to the playoff stage. And yeah, of course, they didn't steal from anybody. And of course, let's say Magnus online events didn't have the same strategy and system. But yeah, it became pretty popular, so they decided to kind of borrow it. And the point was, top 8 players from the main section go to playoff, quarterfinal, semifinal, and the final. And as practice showed, it was a mistake. But that's not it. In the playoff, you need to play 4 games. And if you win, you win. Very logical, you proceed to the next stage. If it's a draw, you continue playing until somebody will win the game first. I don't know if it's like 2 games they played and you need to win 2, or like first game. Doesn't really matter, honestly speaking. And you probably smell something, right? So this is like opportunity for a loophole, because if, let's say, if nobody will win and if there is no Armageddon, it can continue for ages. But remember, this we will come back to it a little bit later. And why the system was bad? Because when it's 21 rounds, everybody playing for the win. In this tournament, after round number 8 or something, players like Magnus Carlsen, Fabiano Caruana, Alireza Firouzja, they started making draws against each other to have perfect chances to qualify, because to top 8 qualify, it's not that difficult. And for example, like 4 games in the round number 13 ended in a similar way. It was all games below like 15 moves, and let's say Firouzja Caruana finished with this typical Berlin draw. There were some games that ended in the same way, so this kind of killed this main stage with all this number of draws. But the coolest thing happened in the stage in the round number 9, I believe. Maybe I'm mixing up something, but it was a game between Daniil Dubov and Hans Niemann, legendary Hans Niemann, who we haven't heard from for a while. And what could happen, like, what was so interesting about the game? The interesting about the game was that there was no game. And later after it, Levi Rosman took an interview from Daniil Dubov, who said that he overslept. Like, overslept, it's like really like that. Because this interview was total cringe. I didn't understand it. Okay, like, everybody understood where is it heading, but it was so weird and awkward and so odd that it just, like, really funny to some extent. So Dubov kinda overslept only this round, kept on playing, and funny enough that he actually tied 8th place, and he got 9s or 10s, I don't really remember. But because of this game that he didn't show up against Hans Niemann, he didn't qualify for the final stage, even though he had perfect chances. Niemann said that, I mean, he doesn't know why. I mean, he had probably some ideas, but as it later turned out, there was some beef between them, because Dubov definitely hinted for the criminal past of Hans Niemann, especially with his online cheating before in the childhood. And we haven't heard from Dubov for a while. He decided to protest against something, even though, I mean, he's a little bit late, because all the situation with Magnus versus Niemann case, with other cases, kind of over. Nobody really saying something to Niemann. He's proven everything sitting, on the board, playing chess normally, showing some good results sometimes not, but definitely competing on the high level. And after the games, there was some like tweet war where Dubov said that he doesn't mind playing, let's say, 20-game match against Niemann if he goes to the lie detector about cheating in chess, especially in classical chess. And then Dubov is ready to play match for 20 games with $2,000 for each point in this game. Niemann just dropped this part about lie detector, about all the stuff. He said that he agreed to play against everybody, but with 20,000 at stake for each point. And as I understand, this beef was kind of over. Not so clear what Dubov was like protesting against. This was like really naive and stupid to lose an opportunity to play in the finals and show good results. But okay, he has his beliefs, his matter. Who am I to judge it? So the final stage and the quarterfinal was already pretty impressive. It was a game between Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann. So their rivalry continues. Last time they played in Paris when Magnus completely demolished him in the speed championship event. For some reason I want to call all the speed championship events, at least online events, this way. But yeah, this time I'm probably right. And first game ended in a draw, but in the second round there was an interesting twist, because Hans Niemann with white pieces totally outplayed Magnus. He played in a pretty interesting way. He played right here knight h2, which is kinda an idea in the structures. Magnus himself played it against Nepomniachtchi, I remember that. And right here, Niemann took control over d5 square. Magnus tried to fight back. Then Niemann just step by step created pressure, capitalizing on his knight on d5, who was lovely, managed to win the Magnus, which definitely spiced things up, because nobody really expected such a wonderful win. So Hans won a pawn, and the game went on, which ended with a mate on the board. Then in round number 3, Magnus understood that he needs to fight back, he needs to win, otherwise he will lose this match, and he won the round number 3, so it was 1.5 versus 1.5, and one game, final game, was ahead, where Hans Niemann was playing white, because Magnus won his third round with white pieces, and it was very interesting position. This was a typical Italian that, Magnus decided not to try out Sicilian second time. He went for this line in e4, e5, and Hans ultimately play only Italian. He's a true believer in it. And right here, after e5, Magnus was down 2 minutes, so in the opening he wasted a lot of time, and right now Magnus, he had 20 seconds, and this whole time he played almost instantly. Niemann created weak pawn on d4. Magnus decided to keep the bishop, offered a queen trade, going to the endgame, activating the rook, and this endgame is really wonderful. One of friend of mine, who is Vladimir, who is co-owner of this channel, wrote after this game it was really impressive, and he really enjoyed it. And I also was looking at it time to time during the games, and I saw that Magnus won, and pretty perfect game. Bishop on a7 is shooting, knight is running here and there around, creating different threats, and everything ended up that Magnus won a pawn, and with all his rotations created even more weaknesses. Hans Niemann was brought down, and Magnus proceeded to the next stage, but still great performance by Hans, winning the Magnus in such like beautiful way, I would say, was pretty impressive. But still, Carlsen proceeded to the semifinals, and semifinals were not that interesting, honestly speaking. Magnus won against Duda, and Nepomniachtchi won against Wesley So on the tie-break. And here comes the final match. 4 games. First game Magnus won, second game Magnus also won, and this is the second game. Magnus had the bishop pair. Nepomniachtchi probably needed to trade off queens to have some chances, but Jan decided to play bishop e4, and after queen b2, rook d7, apparently it turned out that he trapped either as a bishop or as a queen, because if the bishop goes away, there is a bishop d3 move, and queen has nowhere to go, which led to the situation for Jan when he needs to give up a piece, and Magnus gets the free point. So 2-0. Actually, I closed any broadcast. I went like celebrating New Year because it was like New Year part already, I mean, in my time zone. And then when I open and see that the score already 2-2, I was terrified. Round number 3, Jan won with white pieces. That's all right. I mean, happens. And the final game is really impressive. Magnus needs only 1 draw to finish it, just to go home. Like with, as I remember, 90,000 cash prize. And instead of playing, let's say, some London that Magnus played later in the tie breaks, he decided to go to French, and not exchange French, which is like an easy draw, and you don't need to make any effort when you, I mean, 2900 player almost in Blitz. Magnus decided to go to super dangerous line, which like Nepomniachtchi was looking for. It kind of reminds me and has some sort of Gukesh versus Dink vibes, because there were a lot of Frenches like this. And Magnus actually got better position. He got a lot of pressure, opposite castle kings, and right here at this moment, Magnus played queen a7. Right here it was probably necessary, if I remember, play bishop f4 first to have some idea of queen a7, bishop f5, and rook b7 to stay alive. Magnus goes queen a7, rook g8, Magnus down on time, he plays bishop f4, distracting the queen, and after rook b7, 1 move away Magnus from mating Jan, but Nepomniachtchi found pretty cute tactics. It wasn't hard, like some puzzle rush level more or less. Rook g2, knight e3, and Magnus resigns, and it's 2-2. What a roller coaster, because the idea is that after queen e3 there is this check, plus there is this rook g8 idea. And interesting part happened later. Right now, whoever wins the game wins the match. And 1 game, draw, another game, draw, 1 more game, draw. And after 3 draws in a row before the next round, sitting on the board against Jan Nepomniachtchi, Magnus suggests, you know what, let's try to make a draw. Do you mind making draws until the end? Let's tie the first place. And it smells like fixing up some result. Let's say in some football, it would be crime. Let's say in my childhood, let's say such games could be easily punished when you, let's say, make and draw in a pretty funny way. And let's say Magnus suggests, like, let's tie the first place. Jan says, okay. And this was total cringe. I don't know, everybody was, pretty much thrilled of what's happening. Somebody was mad, somebody was like terrified, wow, new era, new things and stuff like this, what an unexpected twist. But most of the professionals has understood from the Twitter and from the like Facebook posts, everybody was like, what the hell is that? Like, what is it, a joke? It's like really some circus, and where are the clowns? Let's not point fingers. And actually Hans Niemann wrote the thing that I pretty agree with, which happens quite rare. He said that, like, what the joke is it? 2 players, only 1 winner should be, where is like the fighting spirit. I mean, it's not like direct quote, but I'm just telling what I remember. And it's true, because like, definitely one will win against each other. Magnus, I mean, for Magnus it's weird because like you could really like easily win, you could fight few more games, why not to continue? Jan understands that he's like weaker than Magnus, I mean, let's not lie in the face, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but still this is like pretty strange, because as I understand, Magnus motivated it that like, okay, we are tired, we can play like this for ages, it's pretty boring, although like thousands of fans watching it, it's like exciting, everybody is like expecting some action, some play. I also like looked at the match time to time, was pretty interesting who would win it. And first of all, you go against the fans who kind of expected something. Secondly, about the part with being tired, you need to probably speak to Karpov Kasparov, who played this unlimited match, which was stopped because both of the players were just drained and exhausted and really couldn't continue anymore. Let's say like playing 200 games in Bullet online is not a problem for Magnus, but playing a couple more rapid games to prove that he is the best is a problem. And like honestly speaking, if I was Jan, for example, again, you right now can complain, you're not in his place and blah blah blah, but Niemann basically said the same. I totally support him right here. I mean, I would rather fight until the end and lose and figure out the time just worse, or I will win, rather than splitting like that in a very weird way. Because, I mean, like not really sportsmanship, and that's pretty weird. And majority of players and like chess players, chess viewers, as I understand, like common temperature in the room weren't really excited about it, and Magnus wrote something on Twitter about it, but I didn't read it, honestly speaking. And also it turned out the decision to bring Magnus back by FIDE like worked not that well for them. They become, I mean, some sort of jokes, because like, I mean, you do everything what Magnus tells you, like if any other player would do it, not that high level, it would be definitely some consequences, some fines, some disqualifications, I'm pretty sure, but right here when Magnus says so, they're fine. So Magnus basically sitting on their neck, like swinging with legs below, so that's basically what it is. And Magnus also kind of abusing the system, and I don't know, his title of the best chess player of all time in a really weird way, let's put it this way. And this is it. What do you think about it? Did you like the video? Do you agree with something? Do you disagree with something? What was the most memorable moment for you from this championship? Would you like to see more championships like this, or do you rather prefer casual chess sport and figuring out who's best? And please comment, like, subscribe, any support would be appreciated. If you don't like it, dislike it, no big deal. No hard feelings. And see you next episodes. Hope this year will be full of interesting videos, so stay tuned in. Bye.